So I was trying to recap what we did earlier. Firstly, we had on 1st of April, we had the first session. And there we looked at the aims of how to create high quality proposals, and also the aims as well as key features, focus areas, etc. Then we looked at what are the aspects such as technical execution, implementation, scalability, societal aspect, novelty, collaborative development, and startup mentality. I also explained to you the different pipelines, AI pipelines, why the and there are specific examples that we took, such as the remote monitoring in case of cultural application, etc. We did that. I explained sequence diagrams as a tool for design, and we drew this how to build a case for prototyping, creating a survey gap analysis, requirements, architectural points of interface. I explained how to write the requirements actually. And then in the second mentoring session, that is on 9th of April, the recording is here. That in that session, I looked at again detailed on how to build your proposal on top of prior arts. And then I explained how to write requirements with the specific examples of putting on your developer hat and dependencies, etc. What are the ways of increasing the novelty quotient, and what are the tool sets, and how to find the tool sets. I took some specific examples such as Shona, the workflow for Shona, the proposals, how to make it end to end and scalable. I looked at that. I also in also added the data sets on references to ITU data sets to publish papers and ITU journal papers. And I also explained how to find information on these data sets. And then we come to this particular session, okay, mentoring session. So this session, we will look at how to distinguish your proposal. So this is the first slide on that. Going beyond the hackathon demonstration, how can you build your proposals? What is the clear path from building the prototype onwards? Clearly mentioning the execution risk and showing the maturity makes a difference. Using the design tools such as sequence diagrams, considering the management of the solution, that is how to provision connectivity, who will provision the connectivity, and so on. Also to write the requirements with an eye on IPR
Krishna ji, your
claims.
slide is not visible. Can you please check?
Okay. Let me try to show it. How about now? Can you see it now?
Yes, it's visible now.
Okay. So I was saying that, So I was saying that how to distinguish your proposal, going beyond the hackathon demonstrations, clear path from building the prototype to further steps, and clearly mentioning the execution risk. And this makes a difference using the design tools such as sequence diagrams. What are the management aspects of the solution? That is, how to provision the connectivity, who will provision and integrate the connectivity, SIMs, and other requirements. Also, we will look at what are the requirements with an eye on claims. So, firstly, in terms of distinguishing your proposal, these are the steps that we look at. That is, look at IPR filings, paper publications, data set collection, to developing these tools and
Vishnuji, I think you are on mute.
uh, okay. Can you hear me now?
It's fine now. It's fine now. Your slides are not
Ah,
visible, but we can hear you.
okay. Let me try again. Sorry about the trouble. Okay. Okay. So
Vishnuji, we cannot hear you.
I think somebody is muting me in between. Okay, let me try again. I think somebody is muting me in between. Okay. Um, okay. So today I will be looking at these aspects. That is how to distinguish the proposal. Okay. So and under this umbrella there are several points that I have listed here. That is IPR filings. You have to mention this as part of the IPR filings, as part of your proposal. Consider these aspects of IPR filings. What are the potential paper publications, academic paper publications or research paper publications which can come out of your proposal? What are the data sets which can be collected? What are the tools and sandboxes which can be developed as part of it? What are the standards gap analysis which can be done as part of it? What are the source uh, open source publications, code publications that can be done as part of it? And what are the deployment guidelines which can be added as part of the proposal? So these are some of the points which can really distinguish your proposal in terms of maturity and the steps in creating this, elevating your score uh, with respect to the competition. So in the overall pipeline, we look at pre-standard activities, normative standard activities, and the standards and positions in ITUT, and what are the extensions and customizations for local needs. These are the overall pipeline as far as standardization is concerned. Then, just going forward, how to distinguish your proposal. The mentioning the risk and dependencies makes a lot of difference. sensors which need calibration, for example, data that needs to be labeled by experts, and training of large models that need compute, and partners which are needed for deployment. So you need to look at these aspects so that the overall risk and dependencies are covered as part of the proposal. For example, let's look at this kind of a robot, which is say going beyond the going beyond the obstacles, right? I mean, passing over the obstacles. And in this robot, you have visual sensors. There are environment sensors. There are 5G cloud modules for inference and APIs for developers. So these are some of the aspects which need to be considered for this particular robot. So, so, uh, this kind of this kind of information is part of your proposal can help in uh, proposal from competitors. Uh, the environment is
Vishji, I think your voice is breaking.
Hello.
Yes, Vishnuji, I would request you to please keep a check on the your connectivity. I think your voice is breaking and uh, listeners are finding it difficult to understand.
Okay. Just a moment. Let me just. Can you confirm you can hear me better now?
It's better now.
Yes, sir. Given, right? Right, given, sir.
Okay. So I already covered these points, which distinguishes your proposal. You have to mention what are the potential IPR filings. You have to mention what are the potential academic paper publications, data sets which can be collected, tools and sandbox developments, the gaps with the standards, open source contributions, and development deployment guidelines. These are some of the aspects which you can cover to increase the potential of your proposal getting selected. Um, for example, I took this one as an example where there is some noise in the line. And this robot has several sensors, potentially visual sensors, environment sensors, communication modules, and APIs for development by developers. So, mentioning this kind of risk and dependencies, for example, it has many sensors which needs calibration, data which needs to be labeled, training of large language models, and the partners which need deployment. So this kind of mentioning the risk and dependencies, which help the judges to make sure that your proposal is mature and you have done your homework. Then mentioning the standards and regulations compliance. So there is including ITU standards, study reports, global initiatives, ISO, IEC, IEEE, 3GPP, etc. Especially in case of healthcare, if your use case is related to healthcare, finance, etc., there are several standards and regulations to look for. There are privacy and safe access to data that you need to take care of, and trusted and ethical use of AI. These are some of the things that you need to cover as part of distinguishing your proposal. So make sure that the evaluators understand what are these standards and compliance to look for. There are two examples that I've taken from my experience. Firstly, if there are use cases such as chatbot for students, which gives subject-wise support, etc. Right? So in this case, evaluation question that is used by judges potentially is that what are the guardrails for ethical use of AI? How, especially these students may be young students, this may be we are looking at the 12 to 14-year-old students maybe. So in such cases, what are the specific guardrails for preventing abuse and increasing the ethical use of AI? Another example potentially is e-healthcare. There are several use cases around e-healthcare. The evaluation question in that case is, what are the expert supervision guidelines? I mean, there are domain specific experts such as doctors or agricultural scientists in case of agricultural use case, and chatbots. So these expert guidelines, expert supervision for the answers and explanations by the chatbot is very important to understand how you're doing it. In case of partners, as I mentioned, if you need domain specific partners, then you need to quote that. You need to cite the references for those domain specific partners. And if there are some of these aspects, then we need to mention that as part of the use case. Otherwise, you are going to get questions around that. Here is a checklist one can look at. Firstly, you need whether you are mentioning the source of data, whether you have added the references for your data, and secondly, whether you have mentioned the actions resulting from the interface. That means for each of the pipeline which we discussed in the first meeting. So you may remember this pipeline, right? So here, the source of data and the sink. Those are the two aspects which are related to the pipeline. So that is the first two. What is the source of data and what are the actions which are resulting from the inference? So those two are the first source and sink aspects. Then you need to mention the types of models, that is visual models, there may be graph models or something like that, or there may be classification models, time series models, that you need to mention that. And then adding references to research papers, white papers, blogs, articles, etc., are very important to do that, so that it is very clear to the judges, evaluators, that you have done your homework at least. And where is the model hosted? Is it hosted in the cloud or at the edge or at a device? And how, if it is in the device, how is it optimized? This is your checklist. You need to mention this in your proposal so that the judges are clear about these parts at least, which corresponds to each of the nodes in your pipeline, right? So, for example, there are many use cases which says drone-based fire detection or drone-based security or something like that. In that case, the evaluation question which is used by the judges is are there pre-trained models? Are there existing data sets which are used for these visual models? And if not, can you mention the plan for data collection? At least that much has to be there. And another example is fine-tuning of large language models. There are several use cases like that. Fine-tuning of large language models for specific use cases of agriculture, healthcare, tourism. There are many such use cases which looks at fine-tuning of large language models. And in this case, the judges ask this question, which base model is used? What is the foundational model which is used before fine-tuning? And what is the vector knowledge base which is created and how is it created? This kind of questions are also possible in case of this fine-tuning of large language model. And then I have an evaluator's cheat sheet, what I call as an evaluator's cheat sheet, which looks at what the submitter says, what the evaluators understand, and how to work around this as far as you are concerned. You as a submitter is concerned, or you as an author is concerned, how to work around this. So if the submitter says that data is private or confidential, what does that mean? That means that the submission is not complete. The evaluator is not able to understand what the data set is, and they have no clue about how to evaluate the set at all as part of your use case. But one possible workflow as far as the author is concerned, you can describe the data, you can describe the metadata. You don't need to give the data out, but you can describe it. What type of data? What are there images, videos, audios, sensors, geospatial data, positional data? Are there time series data which is used, etc.? And then another aspect is real-time inference is needed. You can make out from the use case that there is a low latency communication. There is a low latency inference is expected. So in this case, low latency, if you don't mention it as a requirement, that means that the evaluators understand you're not prepared. So it is better that you find out that real-time inference is meant. You better add it as part of the evaluators. The use case requirements. And in this case, the model may be hosted in device or at the edge that you can mention it as part of the use case requirement. Another third aspect is the domain-specific knowledge is used. So submitter says that there are some domain-specific knowledge aspects which are used in case of agriculture, health, industry use cases, and so on. In this case, even within them, right, there is pest detection, crop disease detection, there is dermatology, there is skin conditions, cancerous cell detection, etc. There are many different domains which are under AI right now. In this case, the evaluators look for regional knowledge base because if these conditions, for example, if you look at pest or fertilizer, it is very region specific. The skin conditions depends upon the type of skin also. So you need a regional knowledge base, which is specific to the region and specific to the type of humans that we are talking or type of plants that we are talking. So the regional knowledge base, if it is not mentioned, that means that your preparation is not complete. So you are creating an open framework for regional knowledge creation along with expert engagement. That's the way to work around this kind of problem that you are facing in terms of domain specific knowledge base. So if you don't mention this, then that means that you are distinguishing aspect is missing. That is creating an open framework for open regional knowledge creation, and expert engagement will give you the edge with respect to competition. Then many use cases talk about local language. Human interface with local language is a good aspect. There is no problem. But the fact is that natural language processing interfaces are needed for such use cases. So you need to mention the specific languages supported, which scenario and context. For example, there may be a set of interactions in a banking context, or there may be a specific set of interaction in a hospital context, or there may be in a farming context. So depending upon the context, scenario, specific context that you are in, you need to mention the specific language which is used, and the set of phrases and set of um, sentences which are used in this particular context. So adding the reference to these natural language processing models, converting the interface messages to inference APIs, these are some of the aspects which you need to cover as part of the use case itself. The next part of evaluator's cheat sheet is that what is the current status of the project? The project is in proposal stage, or is it in any other stage? So if you don't mention at all, that means that the evaluators understand that it is really simply your thought process. It's just in your thought. So you need to mention that it is in a research stage, design stage, or it's in a proof of concept implementation stage, testing evaluation stage, or a deployment stage. This is has to be clearly mentioned as part of your use case proposal. And if the future steps are not mentioned, then it means that the submitter has no idea about what are the future steps, and probably the project has no future. That's what it means, as far as the evaluator is concerned. So it is better to mention clearly what are the possible data set collection steps. Even if you don't have any future steps, then mention clearly what are the potential data set collection steps which are possible. What are the paper publications that are possible in this area? What are the open source submissions possible, and what are the standards contributions that are possible? So these cheat sheets allow you to get into the evaluator's scoring sheet and clearly go create an edge with respect to your competition, your fellows who are trying to win this competition. So in short, you need to look at how to distinguish your proposal. You need to clearly mention some aspects to take it forward. Look beyond the hackathon demonstration. You're not limited by the hackathon demonstration. Look at IPR filings and beyond that, and also to look at the overall picture, that including the sensors, including the data, including the training, and which partners are needed for deployment, and what are the standards and regulations and compliance required. I told you about the checklist of your checklist before you submit the proposal. These are lists to look at. And then I gave you the evaluators cheat sheet, which we use as evaluators to find or filter which is when the submitter says these kind of things, or when we find these kind of attributes in the submission, what does it mean for the evaluator, what kind of impression it makes on the evaluator, and as a submitter, as an author, what can you do to increase the quality, and how to work around these limitations that you potentially see in the project that you are working upon, and go beyond that to win the hackathon. Those are the important things that we covered in this week. And And I have derived these aspects specifically from the examples that we have from the submissions that we have received, as well as from ITU, other contributions that we have seen. So this learning comes from a mixture of what we have seen so far and what we have. Uh, my personal experience of evaluating different competitions as well as hackathons. That is where I wanted to cover this time. So overall, I have given you a complete package on firstly to look at the pipeline. So this is the pipeline with the complete machine learning pipeline as per the ITU standard. Then we looked at this design artifact for sequence diagram. Then we looked at requirements. Then we looked at increasing the novelty tool sets. And then we looked at data sets, publishing papers, and webinars. Then today we looked at how to distinguish your proposal. This is the most important part, I would say, is this evaluator's cheat sheet, where you can look at from the perspective of a judge. If you were a judge, what are you seeing, right? What are you thinking in your mind when you see a potential proposal? What would you look at in those proposals from a judge's hat, and how to work around that limitations? This is what we saw today. If you have questions, I am open to discussing that. So while we are waiting for questions, I can discuss some of the use case examples. I think not specific to what we have seen previously. From my experience, I'm saying that some of the questions that we have seen previously, right? I think the data sets and the models. If you have data sets which are public, then you even private or public, you need to make sure that you describe it, you describe the schema, you describe the type of the data set, any requirements around the data set, such as collection, cleaning, anonymization, pre-processing. You can also describe the training corresponding to it, location of the data set, whether it is at the edge, federated, etc. You can also look at um, generated data set, if you like. The multimodal data sets are also quite important to discuss in this case as far as data sets are concerned. There are many use cases that use multimodal, but even in multimodal case, one needs to clearly distinguish whether there is synchronization required. There is, if you have LiDAR data, if you have visual camera, if you have RF data collected at the same time with location GPS, then you need to time synchronize these. Otherwise, you cannot infer anything from that different sensors that you have from multimodal. Manish, please. Manish,
Hello, can you hear
yeah,
me?
Manish,
Uh,
yeah,
so,
yeah, okay.
so I joined a bit late in this presentation. I just have one question. So there are different evaluation criteria that you have mentioned. So is there a document that which we can refer to when creating the proposal document? Is there a
Oh,
template?
the, uh, So these are not the evaluation criteria. These are simply tips to make sure that your proposal is better. The evaluation criteria will be separately mentioned, but I think those are not my points. These are from my experience to make sure that you have a good quality proposal submission. So that is the reason why this cheat sheet is done. That is from my personal experience as an evaluator previously as well. But actually, you can see the template right there in the cheat sheet as well as the other sections that I had shown. Actually, you can make out that what sections are required. You can actually make out. I can tell you exactly. So you have to have the just a moment
Is there a way we
somewhere.
can download this presentation or you can share it?
Yeah, the recording is available for the previous one. I think this time also Shubhamji will make sure that recording is available for you. And I will make sure that the slides are available to him so he can distribute, no problem.
Thank you.
So yeah, sure. So in general, I would say that you need to use this kind of a template. Make sure that you mention these things in the template. For example, you add what is the source of data, what are the inferences which are done, what describe the models, add references, and describe the hosting of the models. And these aspects, what you see on the left side, and what are the workarounds, those you cover in the document. And I also mentioned previously, in the previous sessions, I have already covered the requirements, literature survey, gap analysis, and the architecture points of interface. These we have already covered in the previous sessions. So overall, I would say that simple template is sufficient, which looks at uh, the literature survey and the just a moment. Let me go there. Yeah. So you can take this kind of a template, literature survey, gap analysis, requirements, architectural points from here, and um, this part which describes machine learning part. This together will form the complete template as far as I am concerned, and that is sufficient as far as I am concerned. So that plus make sure that you cover this cheat sheet which is there. Okay, so while we are waiting for, let me just check the chat window. I am not able to see the chat window. Shubhamji, are you able to see the chat window, or is there any questions there? I'm not able to see the chat window. If there are some questions in the chat window, Dr. Bilal Ahmad, please. Bilal Ahmad, are you able to unmute? Bilal Ahmad Malik, are you able to?
Vishnuji, I have one more question I can ask.
Yes.
So, is there a possibility that because we have to submit the proposals through an institute only, and as per the documentation I have read, an institute can only forward five proposals. So, is it a possibility that if the proposals are good, the institute may push more proposals, more than five?
I think in this is something which, well, my answer will be to increase the quality of your proposal. but but I think this is not a question for me. Shubhamji, can you please? Shoaibji, are you there? Shubhamji, are you there?
Uh,
Somebody. We cannot hear you. So
Shubham sir number is already shared in the group. So if any doubt, we can call him directly. Hello.
yeah. Okay.
Hello.
So Shubham's number is there in the chat, and you can
Yes,
ask him.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, directly I can
That's
ask him.
okay. But I think my suggestion will be, I mean, you can do that, but I also suggest to make sure
Yes,
that
sir.
you cover these points and make sure that your proposal is solid. Dr. Bilal, are you able to unmute? It doesn't look like. And I am not able to see the chat window. So I have to actually probably look at something else. So meanwhile, if there are no other questions, so let me see any other case study that I can talk about. I think the one of the proposals that I have seen, not for this hackathon, I'm telling in general, one of the proposals that we have seen is that um, uh, RAG databases, vector databases. So there are many such cases where RAG is used as well as vector databases are used, embeddings are created. In such cases, you need to look at um, what are the base models which can use that RAG, as well as is there some regional flavor to the RAG, and there are what is the applicability of that RAG vector database, and whether it can be opened or openly published. And these are some of the aspects that we have seen some previous examples where you have such cases for public models and or base foundational models which are fine-tuned or knowledge bases are added using RAG. For example, one of the cases you have seen is for um, language translations or speech to text models or text to speech models. They all use pre-trained model along with some kind of knowledge base for a specific context, such as banking, finance, hospital, and so on. Those are very specific knowledge base which is required to conduct that human interaction under a specific context, under a very specific context. That is the type of interaction which is used in that case. Um, uh, Another case study which comes to my mind is for as I told you previously, the type of um, deployments. So the type of deployments also matters, which is whether it be um, with some partners, what type of partners you are expecting to be there for deployment and so on. So this has to be in one of the proposals which we had seen previously, not in this hackathon, but there are other proposals where we have seen where deployment aspect is not clear at all. That means that not even a study has been done for that part. It is purely theoretical. If you don't know about the deployment and you are not the expert, then it is better to explain that, okay, I am not the expert, we are not the expert, we are looking for partnership for deployment of this idea, or whichever case you are. It's perfectly fine to have just the model or just the use case, and you look for the other parts, right? And not everybody can do everything, right? So it's perfectly fine to have just the use case and not the model part, or the AI part, or the other way around. You just have the AI part and not the complete use case, including the deployment. But it's better to always explain that. Sorry, I am not able to see the chat. If you are able to see the chat, please let me know if you have any questions or comments. You can also raise your hand. Dr. Bilal is raising his hand, but he's not able to speak, I think. Mm, Preeti, Dr. Preeti, please.
So, as you are saying, if we are deploying sensors and if we do not know which type we would be using in our model, or if we are doing a linearization, would we be expected to work it out against a standard model of deployment in some other uh, or a use case? Would we be expected to compare it and give you as a standard model, or is it okay that we would assume or we would be helped in that manner? That's the question, sir.
I see, I see. I think in this case, the time is of essence. I mean, the time is not there. So I think so. What my suggestion will be, at least add the references for the sensors that you know, and also add the configurations and the baselines that you know about as far as the sensors are concerned. If you know about the basic specifications, basic specifications, and the ranges, you can mention that. You can also describe the why you are using that sensor. That is more important than anything else. I think you have to mention why you choose or why you recommend that type of a sensor. Connecting it to the overall use case is more important than doing an in-depth study of that sensor or linearization. My suggestion will be, it's because there is deadline coming, right? My suggestion will be to add references, to include specifications of the sensors, justify the use of that sensor, that whatever you are trying to recommend. That would be my suggestion at this point in time. I mean, if your use case is selected, then you can go forward and do these comparative studies.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Any other questions? Sorry, I'm not able to see the chat window, but if in case you are having any other questions, you can just unmute and ask the question. Okay. In that case, all the best for your submissions. Please keep in mind the cheat sheets that I told you here, and make sure you cover these aspects in your use case. so that Manikandan, please.
Sir, sorry to disturb you, Professor. Professor, I have a query actually. Thing is, can we submit this proposal to other DST fundings?
Sorry, other PSG.
For DST, other DST funding projects.
That again is not a question. I mean, what I would suggest is that, generally speaking, right? What would we do if you were to submit the same paper in different conferences? You
That
want to
is
make
my
sure that
question.
there are significant updates. So
Yeah.
my suggestion would be you update the proposal and submit. No, I mean,
Okay. Okay.
that is what I would suggest. Yeah, because it does not add value. Just as common
Sure.
sense, I'm
Okay. Okay.
saying that it is tough to add value if you are using the same proposal
Same
twice. But
proposal
it's
once.
very easy to update, right? You
Yeah.
add
Sure. Sure.
some aspect and submit is what I would suggest. We can ask Shubhamji, but but I don't know whether
No.
you
No.
will get.
Thanks. Thank you. I got it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That is better. It's pretty easy solution.
Okay.
Okay. Uh, Caleb, please.
Okay, sir, thank you. Sir, would you share us a PPT, PowerPoint?
Yes, yes. We will. I will share it with Shubhamji, and he will share it with you.
Okay, sir.
Also, I think the recording is also available.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much. In that case, good luck for the proposal. In case you have more questions, you can always contact me. Thank you very much. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye. Shubhamji, anything else to add? We close.
Yes, sir.
I,
If no question, then we can close today's session.
okay, sure, sure. But yeah, thank you very much. Bye
Yes,
bye.
thank you, sir.